Asia Live, our daily look at what's making headlines in the region. And let's speak to Ismail Wolf, who's in the Thai capital, Bangkok. Ismail, what's grabbing the headlines where you are?
Thank you, Cyril, and welcome to this edition of Asia Live today from Bangkok. Perhaps moving a little from the normal way, we're looking at perhaps what isn't being covered in the local press. Here in Bangkok, the papers today are looking at sort of the political troubles in the capital, floods around the country. But one of the issues that isn't really focused on internationally or locally is the ongoing insurgency in the far south of the country, where over 6,000 people have been killed over the last 9 years. It's taking place just a few hundred kilometers away from very popular tourist centres. There are, in fact, peace talks set for that have been going on since February, very preliminary peace talks between the Thai government and the BRN coordinate, one of the shadowy insurgent groups that have been leading this insurgency, seeking some form of autonomy in the region. But really, the press have not really focused on this. Many people in the centre of the country see the far southern provinces, which are a majority Muslim area, really as a separate part of the country. But we're likely to see, as these peace talks take place on the 20th, brokered by Malaysia, perhaps a little bit more coverage here in the local press of that pressing issue in the far south of Thailand.
And Ismail, let's widen the scope and look at regional news. Mourners in Vietnam have turned out in very high numbers to pay their respects to General Giap, a celebrated war hero who defeated both the French and the Americans.
Indeed, it was quite an unprecedented and quite a surprising number of people turned out for this two-day state funeral. The communist government, who are under a little bit of attack at the moment from the people in Vietnam, accusations of corruption and financial mismanagement, they really pulled out all the stops for this guy who was seen as number 2 to Ho Chi Minh. He was the military commander that saw defeats of the French in the Indochina Wars, pushing out the colonial power. And then again against America in the 70s, he was seen as the one that masterminded the attacks and the resistance to the American military forces in the region. So there was a massive state funeral, tens of thousands of people on the street. It was an emotional time for Vietnam, and it seems that the communist government there are trying to capitalize on his support and his famousness really, and trying to really generate a bit more support and faith for the mission that the Communist Party has been going on for the last 40 years or so.
Ismail Wolf in Bangkok, thank you very much. And we continue Asia Live with a France 24 report in Burma, where the news media is booming after authorities officially put an end to decades of censorship. The problem is, all the new TV stations and newspapers have connections with the former military rulers. In fact, they're often a way for them to launder their money. All but one. Our reporters followed the journalists of Kamayut. The paper is 100% independent. It's been getting scoops and drawing criticism from the government. Watch this report by Cyril Payen and Pierre Véraud.
It's a new era for the press in Rangoon. One of the most telling effects of the country's democratic transition has been a resurgence of the media.
Today we can read everything. It's democracy. There is free press.
The press may be enjoying new freedoms, but erasing the effects of 50 years of military propaganda isn't easy. And as for censorship, old habits die hard. But some young journalists are seeking to shake things up.
Hello, I'm from Kamayut. I have some questions.
Not now, later.
No, I have a question now.
This young journalist's approach is almost unprecedented in a country more accustomed to working from press statements. Importantly, his target is the former boss of the powerful State Censorship Committee, since transformed into a television CEO.
No, it doesn't bother me. It's normal that these young journalists do their job. But don't forget that this is all thanks to our leaders, who had the vision to allow more freedom in Burma. We must thank them for that.
As usual, he gave a convoluted answer. It was mostly propaganda.
This is post-dictatorship Burma. Unthinkable a couple of years ago, we were at a media reform workshop in the capital, Rangoon. Journalists from Kamayut, Burma's first private and independent media company, were not invited. But they are here anyway.
Yeah, same job. It's switching the table and by the different title. Same thing. But the censorship is totally controlled here.
Would you have a question for him, if I follow you?
I think he has no answer.
A series of exclusive reports has seen Kamayut's following surge. The company's founder, Nathan Wong, spent part of his life in exile to escape the military regime. His motto, tell the truth and owe nothing to anyone, even if there is still a price to pay for that independence.
We have found a lot of resistance from the current existing crony media. They hate our reporting because they thought our reporting is like too much foreign media. Because they hate foreign media, because they have a local resistance on the bias.
All of Burma's press may no longer be under state control, but still, 90% of the country's media companies are owned by cronies of the old regime. We have an appointment with the director of The Messenger, the son of the fifth in command of the former military junta.
Don't just focus on my father all the time and what he does. I'm in the media because it's my job. My father's position has nothing to do with me. There's no censorship in my paper.
Press liberalization is a key element of Burma's democratic transition. Evaluating its effectiveness will be one of the many tests of the true nature of the reform process.
And that rounds off this morning's edition of Asia Live. And more news to come with Stuart Norval with more on those 7 Red Cross and Red Crescent aid workers abducted in Syria. We'll be crossing to our correspondent Lucy Fielder in neighboring Lebanon. Stay tuned.